Okay, so I'm back, and I'm gonna start horsing around with this again, and try and show some other quick little things as I'm doing this. Okay, so if I'm looking at this and I kind of think about how this piece goes around here, kind of goes up and around, has a feels like I need more geometry on it. So something I can do is let's go in here and I'll add more geometry. If I take this edge and I right click and I do my little edge ring and split, and as I do this, it's splitting them evenly, and I'm getting more geometry. Okay, but there's one huge problem that you're seeing, is that it's straight right here. I'd like that to be round. If you go up to these poly splits, there's an insert with edge flow, and it's off. I can turn that on by hitting 1. Okay, and you can put that in your settings for your insert edge loop tool as well, insert with edge flow. Okay, or if you just grab your edges and then you go up to edit mesh, there's edit edge flow. And I just hit this, I can hit G, so I can pop them all in and then just kind of quickly fix them afterwards if I want to, or I could have done it right at the beginning, but it rounds it out. And there's that freaking thing where it's all green again. Just like that, and a right click, sign Lambert 1, my life is good. Okay, and also too, you can see the edges are hard on those too. If you go into the insert edge loop, I've noticed the smoothing angle is always sitting at 30. 89 is my happier one. Okay, so whenever you insert an edge loop, you won't get that hard edge thing going on anymore. Okay, and I'm just going to delete the history on that thing. And so to try to get that kind of angle look where it kind of comes up and around, I'm going to go in and grab my little vertices. And actually, what if I grab these ones right here? These ones will look better. Get my soft selection on. Okay, and so I got something like that. Don't forget that you can also rotate too, and sometimes rotate will give you kind of an interesting look. Here, maybe I'll scale those out a wee bit. Okay, and I think we'll see what happens later on. I might have to split up this piece in the back here. I gotta do another look at the model, the real model that is. Okay, and then this thing here kind of looks a bit more rounded. Feels like maybe I could have done something a bit more interesting here, and what if I took this edge out of here and this edge out of here? When I delete them, I'll just turn B off. If I go in and I do delete edge, by the way, that was a shortcut under Shift, right click, delete edge when you're on edge mode. Okay, and then I can go in and use my multi-cut tool, cut from here to here, here to here, just right clicking after I finish, okay, and then pop one in here. Just trying to figure out what's a nice way to make that clean. So this has come up a bit further now, which is nice. It'll come up closer to the joint, right, so it'll have a bit more of a rounded feel. Just get that move tool and grab my little vertices. And what does this look like over here? Damn it! This one too. Sign Lambert 1. Boom. Fixed. And you can kind of, it's kind of nice because you can see all that stress that we're having right over here. Actually, what the hell is that? Maybe when I was duplicating faces? Was I doing anything wrong? There it is, right there. There's another face right there. So I do that, and I pull these out, whoop, and I delete, there, fixed. Okay, that was looking weird. I guess I was getting impatient earlier, and I did a bunch of things, and I wasn't totally paying attention. Okay, and if I go in, and I'm just going to grab these again and pull them up a bit higher. And how does that look? Those are kind of fitting in, kind of like they're supposed to. Maybe I can scale them apart a little bit. Okay, great. And these are triangles right here, and I could delete the edge in the middle and that makes it a quad, or I could do the thing where I right click, edge ring and split. There, and those are happy little quads. And I can take these little vertices right here. Okay, and there's one over here too. I could scale those apart from each other. Also, something I tend to use quite a bit is the average vertices, and I'll just hit G a few times, and there. Actually, I don't like how that's kind of a stressed out vertice there, too. Or stressed out little star, basically, right there. There's a pole, and the pole's got 6 edges coming out of it. I'll probably end up coming back to this one to clean it up. But for now, that's looking fine. And this thing goes up here, and that's cool. And I put an extra couple of edge loops in here that I probably didn't need. And maybe, how about this? When I go in here and I select this edge, if I do my little control trick and I right-click, edge loop, and delete, that'll quickly clean those up until I come back to those later. Okay. And anything else I want to point out as I go up here that I don't like? The underwear. I don't like the underwear. We have a star right here, and I typically like the star kind of in the middle. Okay, so this is not a good place for it. And I could do this a few different ways. If I went in and I grabbed an edge, and I went edge ring and split, okay, and I put an edge ring through it, but I didn't really want it to go through the whole thing, so I want to save these edges here. I like those ones, and the other ones I don't like, so I'm going to use Shift, right-click, delete edge. Okay, and then I'll get my multi-cut tool, and I'll click from here to here to here, and I'll do the same thing in the back, here to here to here, and you notice that I've made a nasty end-gon. There's the end-gon, and I made a triangle. If I just take that, I can collapse it, and I can move some of these points around a little bit. And I have got my star moved. Okay, because you are going to have a star somewhere in here. This is a bit of a stretched polygon here I'm not really crazy about. I will come back and fix that later. Same thing again, I'll just grab this, grab the edge, edit mesh, collapse. And then I can nudge it around and I move the star away so it's not near the edge. It just makes it so later on when I want to put in hard edges, however I'm going to put in the hard edges, because there's multiple different ways that I can do it. Right? How about, for fun, just I'll show you there's a tool that I like. There's the insert edge loop tool everybody knows about, but what about the offset edge loop tool? So if I take the offset edge loop tool and I click here, puts it on an edge on either side really quickly, and then that makes it really easy to hard surface something, right? And have an accurate line is relatively even on both sides. So, and again, I kind of can visualize what's going to happen here. That's a better place for that point. Okay, I just got rid of those for now. And as I look my way up here, what about this thing? This is going to take a lot of work, and I don't know if I'm actually going to record me doing this, because this is going to take a little while. I might do a time-lapse video on that. What about this piece here? Okay, what if I take this one? I'm just going to grab that edge ring, and split. And what I'm thinking about here is just taking this piece and this piece. I'm going to make duplicates, and I'm just going to isolate them for a moment. Just going to grab their faces. Grab them by the face! Okay, so I got those. I just deleted all the rest of the faces except for those ones. And then if I go in here and I grab these faces, delete. Okay, great. And if I just make sure these two objects are merged, or combined, okay, and whenever you do a combine, you can always see it in the history here, polyunite. And then I could probably hit that with a bridge. And then I notice my bridge is black. If I go to mesh display and I just hit reverse, my life is good. Okay, and now I've got some kind of connective tissue here. And if I do that and I go up to mesh, I do my proxy, blook. I take the proxy, and I know the pivot point's going to be down there. If I just make the scale -1, there we go. And I can come back and clean that up later on. What about, oh, I just spun myself around. What about these pieces here? What about those two? I'm just going to take those, I'm going to make duplicates. And I'll just center me pivots. Okay, and I'm thinking about using these kind of hinges right here on my fingers. I don't like these long skinny fingers on the Cylons. I think those look bad. I was kind of going in and looking at Cylons and let's see, if I start giving them too much of an eye, yeah, you just see that there's problems with them, and I like the bigger, thicker fingers of the old ones better. There's something about these old ones that are so much fun. Anyway, yeah, we'll leave it at that. So, with those thicker fingers, I'm probably going to have kind of hinge joints primarily. Probably in the base of the thumb, there's going to be a ball joint of some kind. I'm just going to take these and let's go over here. Duke. Just moving their pivot point there. Okay. And what if I went to the top view? And I'm just trying to line up what I think is going to become the hand as I start kind of boxing this into place. And let's see, this one and this one. I'm just going to take this thing really quick here, and if I grab the edge, I know that I'm going to make these fit better if I go in here to edge ring and split. And I'll just double check on that to make sure that I'm not crazy. Okay, so this piece here can fit into that piece. So I could easily take these two pieces and make duplicates and pull it ahead and do it again. Okay, and if I grab these two pieces here and I went and I did a mesh combine, and who am I, what am I doing here? Boop, there. And if I go in and I grab these faces, I'll just deselect these ones. Delete. And take those and I'll bridge. By the way, in the bridge settings, I've set my bridge settings so that it's a linear path, and I put the divisions down to 0, so when it bridges, it just connects directly. Okay. And I'll take these two pieces, and actually I probably don't need this one here at the very end. Okay. Actually, how do I feel about this stuff? I'm just going to hit if. You know, I actually don't even really need this stuff in the end here. What if I just go in here and I grab those edges? And these ones, and if I do my little delete edge thing, I didn't like that idea much at all. What if I did that and I went in, delete edge? That's interesting. No, it still thinks that's connected. Okay. Anyway, actually what I was just thinking is I actually don't need that. It's fairly easy to take these faces at the very end here and quickly go in and extrude them and make some kind of pinky-like thing. Okay. But, oh, and I was smoking crack because, hold on a second. Oh, you idiot. What were you thinking about? Well, this piece here, I like that one. I'm going to move this way here. And I'm just going to take this one. I'm going to hit center beam pivots. And the pivot point on this one, if I hold down D and V, I'll line it up with this thing. So when I make a duplicate and I hold down V, there, and then this one, the pivot point's there, so I'm just going to move this. I'm going to line it up with this vertices, so when I hold down V, I can snap and line it up with that one. There we go. Okay, because I was smoking crack, I forgot that I've got to take these and move this forward here. Okay, there. That's a good robo finger. Okay, once you get these all set up like this, I can quickly group that and center me pivot. Hold down D and V and snap it to the backside. There's something about these fingers too. They're going to have something that kind of spreads them, I think. What else do I not like about these? That's not going to work. Yeah, I might have to go in and scale these individually and toy with those, but I could make duplicates of these really quick, and because it's a group, it's easy to move around. Actually, I like it if they're thicker. But those are big nose-picking fingers. Too big. If I pull this in a bit, I can get away with that, and then I'll just hit F8. Takes me into component mode, and I could probably move this back a wee bit, and this back a wee bit. Make sure that this one here is a little bit shorter, because if you want this one here to be a bit longer, because that's a good way to make a fist. And the wonderful things about fists, you can use them over and over and over again. Okay, maybe I'll make this one here, I'll scale it down a little bit so it isn't quite so big. And I can, again, come in and play with that and get something new out of it later on. And what are we at? 16-minute mark. So I've got fingers kind of set up, and again, I'm going to duplicate those all over the place. The ankles. The ankles aren't a simple hinge joint. Okay, because they kind of rock side to side. Okay, and they rock back and forth. So we've got to come up with a way to kind of move that around. Do I want to do a ball joint in that? The ball joint would be kind of the obvious way, I think. Okay, and I'm just giving it some thought. Anything else I want to change on there? Or I could make it a rigid ball joint, but if I just go in and let's go to Create, Polygon Primitives, Sphere. And hold down V, and for some reason it's always locking there, and you've seen that when I hold down V I can snap it if it's yellow in the center. Okay, so if it's yellow in the center, when I hold down V I can middle click pop it to wherever I want it to go, and if it's not yellow in the center, it's only gonna line up to whichever axis it happens to be on. And if I take this and I move this and rotate it. Okay, good enough. I wonder how many sections I got. I got 8. And this one, there's 1, 2, 3, there's 12. If I had been thinking ahead, that would be an interesting thing to change. But if I bring it down to 4, from a side angle, that works quite well. Okay. And let's go back to the front view. Let's put that on. And I'm just thinking about where this thing should actually live. And the ankle tends to be kind of low. I'm going to put the ankle down here because this seems like a bad spot up here to try and do ankle action. And if I grab this thing and I grab its vertices and I move them down, and you can see when I do that, it's going to stretch everything out of proportion. And that's why I'm keeping the geometry really minimal right now, so that I won't see problems like that happen. Okay, and I got to do some thinking about this foot. Maybe one more thing I'll do, just as I'm blocking in the foot here and thinking about it. I really think these split toes are kind of dumb. I don't like them. They don't work in this instance for some reason. I like the old kind of clunky boot thing that they had in the original one. And if I go here to create polygons and I use a sphere, okay, and let's just rotate this puppy over. So if I hold down J, there, I'm just going to stretch it out. So we got some kind of booty thing. Okay, and then if I go over and I reduce this, so I think 8 is not enough, so I'm going to go for 12. And subdivisions in height, let's bring that down. 10. 10 is what I like. Okay, and then I'm going to do a thing here to get rid of the stuff on the bottom. Yeah, if I go in and I grab these edges along the bottom, and I do my, I missed. Edge loop and delete. Okay. I take those edges and just get rid of them. And then I get my multi-cut, and I multi-cut from here down to there. Okay. And I can also do some nice little cleanups right there. I'll just see what happens. So I get my poly split tool. Okay. And I'm going in. I'm just pressing delete for these edges because there's a vertex on either side of them, so I wanted to hold that shape. There we go. Okay, and I'm probably going to spend some time figuring out how I want this to look. There. But for now, he's got a foot. That looks bad. It looks so bad. And let's see, I think I'm going to stop here.